guys, I hope you guys are doing good today. A different setup. I figured I'd get a different angle of my house. And my cat is going crazy. Hey, Dodoki. Um, so I figured today I would talk about my autism and how how we led to my diagnosis when I was younger, and some of my symptoms or like just things I did. And this is by no means true for everyone, but this is my personal experience having autism. So here goes, I guess. So when I was born, my mom noticed that I could lift my head up from day one, and I would never lay on her. So she'd put me on her chest, and I would immediately just lift myself up and get off her chest. I would just look at the paintings or look around the house. I wasn't super interested in like engaging with people, and she noticed that. And also I was a little delayed with walking, and she was like, "Oh man, I hope she's okay. She's a little delayed, but I'm not super concerned." And then they took me to a hotel room, and I just walked everywhere. Most of the time people have their first steps. I did not. I just walked everywhere. It was just from crawling to walking. There was no in between. There was no learning process. It was just boom. And a lot of my life is like that. When I learn something, I just start doing it automatically. There's not like, but it takes me a little long. You get what I'm saying? Like, my life is in blocks instead of like a gradual transition. Most of my life is in blocks. Sorry, my cat's going crazy. He has a little bell in his collar. But also another thing she noticed is that when I was younger, I used to not look the camera in the look people in the eye in the camera, and she was like, "Look at the cameras," and I'm like, "Mom, I'm looking at the camera," because I genuinely thought I was, because it just, your brain plays a trick on you and says, "Oh, you're looking at the camera," when you're not. So you have to be extremely aware of it in order to look at the camera, and you're just like, ah. Now I can do it passively because I've done this for so long and had to do a lot of stuff for my music. So it's second nature. Look at the camera. And also some interesting things about when I was younger too is, I was really sweet. I never really cried at all. I wasn't super vocal. I didn't really start talking very much until I was 8. My mom thought I was just a quiet kid. I wasn't super shy though, but I was outgoing, but I was quiet outgoing, I wasn't like I am now, which is a chatterbox. Yeah. Also when I was younger, I had the normal difficulties of reading people and stuff, and it was very hard for me to read people. And, I had to, develop it. And also, I had a hard time when I got stressed out. I would forget things. This comes back to play later. But other than that, I was a really nice kid, but I was just a little weird. Like, not weird, but you say like, hey, there's something different about her, and it's not just like a personality thing. Because, my mom basically went for a degree of criminal justice, but she couldn't graduate because she couldn't finish public speaking, because as soon as she gets on a microphone, her voice just turns to that of a mouse. So she was like, there's something with my kid, I think my kid might be autistic or Asperger's because, this, and this. And my entire family was like, "No, she ain't autistic. Nothing's wrong with her." And Mom's like, "It doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just she's, they would help me, help her with any of her, any issues she gets when she's older or anything like that." And they're like, "You shouldn't do that. There's nothing wrong with her." And, I used to have a lot of trouble with teachers when I was in school, because they basically said, "I don't get why, because you're smart, but why can't you understand this specific thing?" So like if it was based on like emotional things or like inferring like certain things, I needed more input on, like, "Hey, can you explain this to me better?" Because I couldn't just take things at face value. I had to know mostly the theory behind them. Even though I did okay, even though I made an A in trig, I still would prefer to know more of the theory, even though I wasn't really taught that in school. But it basically, they couldn't get why certain things I would have a lot of trouble with, and then other things I would just breeze past that other students wouldn't. So a lot of teachers actually, a friend of mine, she was like a guidance counselor. She walked in one day in the lunchroom, and all the teachers at my middle school were talking behind my back, saying, "Oh, you know what Selena did today?" And they were basically like, like the mean girls at the table. Even though like I didn't really get bullied by students at all, really, because if kids were like mean to me, I would just like tease them back, and they didn't like having their own medicine back to them. Uh, Sharp personality. Anyway, so base. So the guidance counselor like, you guys need to knock it off. You guys could get fired for that. So they stopped talking behind my back. But most of the problems I had was from teachers, and not very much from students. Like there would be occasional student being mean to me, and I'd tease them back, and then everything was under the rug. But I think my difficulty with teachers and understanding, emotional things and understanding certain things is my mom was like, I really need to see if my kid has autism, because I want the school, like, if there's something she needs, the school needs to treat her better. Because one teacher used to take me out of class all the time and just throw me in the guidance counselor's room and wouldn't tell me anything and just throw me in there. And I was like, why am I here? She's like, I don't know why you're here. I guess we'll play a board game. So that's why I became such good friends with the guidance counselor, is, the teachers, I did not misbehave. I would just ask, hey, I don't understand that. And a lot of teachers just didn't want to put the effort in to actually teach. So, yeah. So my mom basically took me to the psychiatrist to get me evaluated. He said, man, your kid's really smart, but whenever she gets stressed out, she forgets things. And, she doesn't play pretend. She misinterprets certain sounds. Like, for some reason, when a baby is crying, it can sound like laughter to me, because the frequencies are so similar, and I'm not focusing on anything else. I'm just focusing on the frequency alone, and the way I perceive things is very different. Now, when you're seeing a baby, I can tell if it's crying or not, but I can't tell auditorily. So he was like, yeah, that's, she's probably, and he was like, why do you think the baby's laughing? And I'm like, I have no idea why the baby's laughing. Why would the baby be? I don't know. So that's where the I'm bad at inferring thing comes from. Like, I can't guess why someone would do something unless it's like, A, B, and C. Like if it's in a plot, or if I have more context. Because if I don't have context, I'm just like, can't help you there. So yeah, it was very hard for me. And with that sort of thing. So my mom was like, I need to help my kid, because, she makes good grades in school, but the teachers need to quit being mean to her, and I want to help her out. And so basically I got evaluated. They said I couldn't live on my own. They said that, my autism was, I had high functioning autism, but it was just middle of the road enough to be where I couldn't live on my own. And this was when I was 11, 12-ish, and my mom was absolutely devastated when she found out. She was like, oh my God. And then she was like, wait a minute, what turns wimps into men? Even though being autistic is not being a wimp, this is basically her thought process. She's like, boot camp. So basically, my mom started putting me in hardcore taekwondo, karate classes, and boxing. And the professor would scream at you, get it done, like boot camp. And I used to do gymnastics. How can you believe I could do it now? But so my mom was like, do the cartwheel, and I was like, okay. So we call it the $10,000 cartwheel. So yeah, Selena was a slow girl when she didn't want to do something. I really didn't want to do gymnastics or tumbling and any of that, but my mom wanted me to. Music was all me though, because but anyway. My mom, I finally started doing a backflip. That was right after, we found out that I was actually good at music. So we were like, okay, we need to spend on music classes instead of tumbling classes. Sorry, this is your last class. And I'm like, okay, I don't have to do backflips anymore. So I was pretty happy about that. But my mom still reminisces, oh, you were almost there, Selena. He was barely touching his hand behind your back. You're almost there. I'm like, I'm pretty happy being in music though. And she's like, I'm pretty happy with you being in music too. But so beside the body language, not looking at the camera, so the inferring issues, some of the things that that weren't necessarily natural to me is what I'll include my mom in, that I did have autism or Asperger's. She really thought I had Asperger's at first. She got me like Asperger books and stuff, like, oh, these are people's stories so you can understand and all that. And I read them and I'm like, no, this applies to me. And I'm like, I'll figure that out. Why it doesn't all apply to me? My mom doesn't play pretend either, but she's not autistic. So I thought that was an interesting criteria that they would add, because there's a lot of people I know that don't play pretend, period. My mom never played with dolls or anything really. She was just like, okay, hi. So just like me. So my mom's like, I don't think that's necessarily autistic. I think that's just a trait of our family, just not being imaginative. um, I'm imaginative with songwriting, but just not. Just not as a little girl apparently. Um, so yeah, that was some of the things that led to my diagnosis of autism, and just a little tiny quirks, and when my mom got me diagnosed and stuff. But basically, the boot camp esque karate classes and boxing classes and stuff really helped it. Now I can really function under stress now. So I'm not sure if I can live on my own, but I still live with my parents. But you know, honestly, I'm doing really good, and that really helped me a lot, because my mom is. She's like, I was so sweet to her, but you gotta learn to handle life, and that's what being screamed at a coach. Even though he was nice whenever he was in karate class, you know, yeah, made me be able to work under pressure, and I really appreciate that my mom did that for me. And honestly, you gotta balance it out, honestly, when you raise a kid with autism, because she got me from, middle of the road to high functioning, is you have to have really good structure, very good rules, because I would follow rules to the letter T, and I would never lie. I would be like, oh, we have to do it this way. The teacher said to do it this way, like one of those kids. And I was like, oh, I have to do it like this. So, my mom said, my mom basically, helped me get over, some of the fear-based, like, stress, like, oh my gosh, I can't figure it out, I don't have enough time, the stressing out and stuff. And she helped me with that, because she put me in stressful situations and forced me to get out of them myself. And also, like, before, when my mom would have the car radio on, I would gently ask her, hey, could you turn it off? And then she was like, you know what, I can't do that anymore, you gotta be able to suck it up, literally. So, suck it up, put a sock in it, there ain't no use in crying over it. That song, some of the lyrical composition in that song was kind of like inspired by how you got to get it done, like, the attitude, boot camp attitude. So that helped me a lot with my autism. You have to be sweet with your kids, but you have to be very firm as well. And you have to, let your kid, put your kids in you can't shield your kids from stressful situations as long as they're not dangerous. Because with autism, you have to be able, it's natural that you get stressed out really easy. So you have to learn how to cope with stress. So, basically putting your kids in like a really, if your kid cries a few times, they just gotta suck it up and lump it. But then after a little while, I was good, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I, I learned how to suck it up, but also be able to cope with my feelings in a very healthy manner. So, that was just like how when I was younger, how autism worked for me. And I hope you guys like this video, and I'll do more if you'd like. So stay tuned, I guess. And also I do music, so peace.